So hello everyone, welcome to another one of the Virtual Animation live streams. I'm Tyler Friedel, for those who aren't familiar with me. I worked on Lifetime Achievement, was an animator on that, and I also help moderate in the community. Today I'm going to be showing my little process I go through to make super accurate, not 100% perfect, but very close to perfect gemstones. So I'm going to take everybody through a little history lesson of how I wound up getting to this point. So I set out to make an asset pack full of perfect shapes, as accurate as you could get them. So naturally, I started off just with a square because in Quill, you are given the square ribbon brush and figured why not try. Well, the problem with the square ribbon brush is as soon as you start to draw with it, it tries to... am I on the wrong layer? Yes, I am. It tries to pick a direction it wants to go, meaning you have to be perfect on it to try to get it to be a square. But even still, just with, human error, there's probably inconsistencies. Like if I try to match this guy up, he's probably going to have some imperfections. Like, yeah, he's already taller than he is wider. So then I moved on to the next step by just adding a little border, which I've already found out that that's even less optimized. You can make a perfect square by just rotating this and adjusting it as need be to get to your perfect edges, but that's a whole other stream for another day. Through that process, I wound up making a couple more perfect shapes. And this is all in pursuit of, for those familiar with D&D, recreating dice, the various multiplanar faces in D&D. So easiest one obviously is the cube, six-sided die, probably the die that everyone's most familiar with. Next up was the tetrahedron, the four-sided die, which creating that triangle was not an easy feat. As you would do, you would take... oh man, I keep clicking the wrong layers. Make your ribbon brush as small as you can, scale it down. That's how you make some triangles. Next up was the octahedron, which was easy to accomplish because technically it is just a pyramid, wherever I put it. Oh. But flipped upside down on top of itself. The dodecahedron, which, as you're starting to see, these are becoming very, very complicated. And lastly, the icosahedron. All of these are platonic solids. Platonic solids are cool because at each vertice, at every point in the shape, they have the same number of faces touching. But there's one die here that is missing, and it is the pentagonal trapezohedron, or what probably most people are familiar with is the die 10. Now, the die 10 is not a platonic solid. The way I did these previously was I was able to find the angle between each face and just replicate it the best I could. And while that proved to be really damn near perfect, it wouldn't work with this one because these angles are not the same. So what I did instead was just, and then I even wound up redoing these in this way because it proved to be that much better, is I went into Blender and I modeled every single one of them. And instead of trying to, put one face down and like curve and get it just right, I just built the faces and slapped them on the model. So essentially I was UV unwrapping these models. That's the wrong one. Kind of like if you ever on UV unwrapped a cube before, you kind of get this cross shape. But I'd kind of just be UV unwrapping them and placing them on them, which made me realize, like, okay, well, if I'm able to create like this super, like if you zoom in really far, it takes you this close to start seeing imperfections. But if you're going to be this close on this shape, you might as well build this better anyway. Like, that's how big this thing can be before you really start to see the imperfections. And even still, once you have actual colors that aren't made to show the different planes, it's still harder to see. Like if that was all like a red. But then it led me to decide, like, okay, how far can I push this? Like, what if I start making gemstones? So I jumped into Blender, and using these two images, I'd like, pick a gemstone, like, what's one that I did recently? Like the French cut. And I would start modeling, just placing vertices where they needed to go, filling it in, flipping it, pulling it out to get its shape. And then would take each individual face of the gemstone and just place it completely flat next to it, because what I was doing was I was literally UV unwrapping the gemstone with each face to be rebuilt in Quill. So then I could put it all back. Really complicated process of just what Blender can do in seconds, and I guess I'm reverse engineering it, but it works. Those are there. It works, I promise. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of it today. Let's go ahead and go.
So, Tyler, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Go for it.
I'm just not sure if I understood correctly whether how you're creating those faces. Are you importing them from Blender
Yes,
each face,
yes,
or are you
yes.
creating them in? Okay.
So I go at what I'm doing is I'm 3D modeling these in Blender. Like this model is what I do first. Um, but then like once the model's made, I'll like go with face select and grab this top face here, this octagon, and I'll just drag it off and place it. And then I'll
Right.
grab this kind of like kite shaped face, drag it off, place it. So then because yeah, showing it would be good. You go with new 3D model layer, and I've got my folder full of all my different models already. Like, let's go and do the table cut. It imports as a wireframe, which I will be switching out to wireframe because it's way easier to see which faces you're on. But yeah, these are just 3D models where all of the faces I have already that are unique are pulled out, because you're going to need to recreate each unique face, which for the table cut is really easy because it's a rhombus, a rectangle, a triangle, and a square. That's 4 faces. But for some of the more complicated ones, like sorry, that's an image one. For the like sunflower cut, it's a lot more faces. You've got your top. I think it's another octagon. No, octagon. This triangle, that rhombus, this rhombus, these triangles. Underneath, you've got it's that one was a mess. But I figured today we'd be doing the I think it was the classic round cut, which is your standard run-of-the-mill diamond cut you usually see in media. And it has relatively few faces. Some of them are pretty simple, and a lot of them have different ways that you can build them too for some better accuracy, some lesser accuracy. So I'm going to start with the octagon, which I should have done this in Blender, but I didn't. I like to always try to have a flat edge to start with. So this, let me go and start a new layer. This has a flat edge I can begin with. This has a flat edge. This is just, this one doesn't for a certain reason. This one doesn't for a certain reason. And this one should, but I didn't, because normally what you do to start a side is you do a flat stroke, but it doesn't have that. So what you have to do, since it's 8-sided, you have to set your rotation snap up to 16. So it's double. And when you rotate it, it will be flat. So again, 2 ways to do this. Some I've found, there's obviously probably more. It all depends on how you want to color your gemstone in the end, because Quill and how it likes to color its strokes. You could have one big flat shape in the middle, like a rounded ribbon, and then the edges are filled in, or you could have essentially trying. Oh, man, keeps making me into a goofball. You have triangles that kind of come in like that, so your colors would go in like that, and there'd be a little bit of Z fighting in the middle. It's whichever you want to do. I'm probably going to go ahead and make the more inaccurate one right now. And this one's hard to get because you have to get your corners of your shape as close as you possibly can. Making this one the more inaccurate one, because the other one... Did I start drawing it? Yeah, I did. Is it on the other side? Yes, it is. So we're going to go to about the middle. This one can overlap in the middle. It's not too terrible if it goes too far. And then we can, if you guys remember from Ant-Man, I don't know if you guys have seen Ant-Man, when he goes subatomic, that's basically what this entire process is. We go as close as we can because it shows our inaccuracies, because then we can grab our shape, zoom all the way back out, grab our gimbal, bring it to where we're going to be working, zoom in really far, and bring it down as close as we can get it, right to the edge, bring it down, and it's already begun Z-fighting. So yeah, flashing color warning for everybody who didn't get that at the very, very beginning before pre-stream. And we see right there it can be pushed over a little bit, so we're going to go over here, bring it over, push it, and that might be too far. We might have pushed it too far. This guy might be too small, which if he is, that's an easier fix. Yeah, he's just a little too small, but at this point we can also gauge, like, is this imperfection too minor to notice? Like, what is our scale right now? And is anybody going to ever be at this scale? I don't think so. I think we'll just split the difference, maybe. And we'll probably just leave it. Yeah, like at this scale right now, that's how big that face is going to be. I'm just going to call it there. That's good enough. So then we will flip him around. Get him about perfectly lined up. And then go back to 8 steps because we are working with an octagon. And we have double checking. Yeah, and see, there's a gap there, which I kind of want to get that fixed because with this kind of shape, it's better to have that match, especially your top. So we'll try it again. See if we still have our problem. Now it's too far. It's a lot of back and forth. Because the closer you get to being dead on the money right now, the more you're going to like yourself later. Yeah, like, I think that is close enough. Because any imperfection you have here is going to pretty much be multiplied at the assembly step. It's yeah, early mistakes will screw you over later on, and we're gonna just try to split the difference on each of these corners because by technically making this one too small, this one's even smaller. So that's one face already down. Granted, it was easy. I'm gonna go ahead and turn him off so no one's eyes are melting while we're working. Also gonna turn this on wireframe so we can see a bit better. I'm gonna name this one top. Make a new layer. So these ones I'm gonna show. I'm gonna go pick this shape right now because there's 2 ways I usually approach these. One of them is the quicker, lighter way, but it's also, again, the more inaccurate way. So if you're ever making a triangle, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you're at this, scale and you grab here and you bring it out. Oh, I'm sorry, the model still rotated. Got to rotate him back. Go to 16. Put him back. Oh, did I do it wrong? Yeah, because so there's a weird bug where if you have the layer able to be transformed and you change the rotation steps, it won't update. You have to redo it, and then it'll work. I think it's the same way when you have something selected. I can't remember. But if you ever tried to make your little thing here, and then you zoom in, and you have this giant flat edge at a closer angle, and if that really upsets you, because when you're looking at the tip of a gemstone, that's very pointy, and you don't want a hole at the bottom. So what you can do instead is you go literally subatomic, which, weird science fact, Quill is very accurate to life, and where at the molecular level everything is vibrating, it does the same thing. Everything vibrates when you get really, really close. It makes it very hard to be perfect because, as you can see, everything is super wiggly. But a little wiggle is enough. Like, as long as you're close. Yeah, it's even still too close. Which, yeah, you notice a lot of weird things the closer you zoom in Quill. Like, straight edges aren't straight. They actually have a really little warble to them. But you can then, with the grab tool, zoom out once you have your line started and start making this bigger. Now, I actually messed up my model a little bit when I did this. Whenever you bring each face out, some of them won't be perfectly flat. It's better if you can get it as flat as you can and then take individual vertices and bring them to, I think it's Z0, so you don't get this weird effect where your middle, although very close, is at a different Z height. So that's actually pretty close on the first try. I'm going to go ahead and just do it right there. Cool. So let's zoom in and see how close we were. we're pretty close. Yeah, this is one method to do it. This works better on longer triangles. Like if you could see a triangle and make it long, that's fine. Now, these more stout triangles, this is where it gets a little harder because there's certain limits to your ribbon brush making triangle potential where it will start to try to rotate if it's too short. Zoom out a bit. Sure. Like if we start going out here, which another way is if whenever you use the analog stick to like make things bigger, you kind of snap and jump. Like if you're, I don't even know if it's gonna let me. Yeah, it's trying to act like it's too. Oh, there we go. So if you look at, I'm trying to line this up. It's just snapping bigger and smaller, and it's really hard for me to get it right. If you use your grab tool while you have the thing, you can use this to kind of micro adjust your sizes. The only problem is this is on the border of being like too stout for a triangle. Like right there, if I could just bring it down, it'd be perfect. But oh, that's weird. Never had it let me do that before. But it's still a little too small. We're gonna see if we can make it a little bigger, but this one might just be a lost cause. So what you do instead is, I should probably finish this guy up, shouldn't I? We're gonna go ahead and do him. Change colors so I can see what I'm doing. And we'll get back to you, Mr. Kite, in just a second. There we go. Yeah, look how wiggly that is. Super bizarre. But we're going to zoom out, let them go all the way down. And again, this is where this method starts to get a little worse, but this is where you can do those grab tool precise movements. Also, there's a certain size where you can get, because you're literally changing your size on the world, which allows you to kind of micromanage your shape scale. That's pretty close. We're going to call that, yeah. So I've already got these shapes kind of made in a second thing. We'll see if I use this one or the other one, given how inaccurate whichever one is. But we also want to make sure, because this has a little bit of depth between it, or gap, we're going to grab it, bring it over here, and we want to make sure that they are as close as possible, which is much easier to do when you're, once again, at your microscopic level of Quill. So it's a lot of zooming in and out. And even if you don't get them to Z-fight at this level, if you're this close anyway and you get them close enough, they'll start doing it anyway. So that essentially joins those two faces together. We will, what's the other color we used? We used red, so we'll do this one. That's sky blue. So now you've got one kite shape. That's just one solid piece. So this guy's got a good example of both acute and obtuse angles. I like obtuse angles way more because they're just easier to work with. I'm going to call you long kite. Hide you. What time are we at? 12:19. Okay. We'll see where this takes us. Let's go to green. So the problem with this one is we've tried doing our little triangle method, but this individual triangle is just far too stout. So instead what we have to do is we have to use two strokes to make this angle. So what I do instead is a similar process where you zoom in really far, get a good midpoint, and once again we have a weird problem with the mesh not actually being perfectly flat, but that's okay. Instead of trying to match this whole thing, we're just trying to get it to where we know that if we rotate on the pivot and duplicate it, it will fill this area. It will hit both sides. So what I'm going to do is, that's probably fine. So we select it, drag it to about the tip. And there's an art to this specific part where even I haven't gotten it down perfectly yet, because technically even at this level, the tip is still flat. And it makes it very hard to work with because it is all shaky. So zoom out a little bit so it stops shaking, hopefully, because at that point no one's going to be at the shaky level anyway. So imperfections there are a-okay. But then we put him as close as we can to that line. And I don't know if Yari's even here right now, but if Yari is, I know he had that trick where you can move the gimbal and access it from a really far away spot. I haven't tried it with this yet, but I want to say that would work because the further away your gimbal is, and the more you drag your hand out, the more accurate you get to make your adjustments and movements. It's at the same spot. That's fine. But then from there, we can just rotate it this way, which you'd think, oh, you should just mirror it. If you had your XYZ gimbal in the right spot, you could, but that would probably require importing each individual face, which if you really want accuracy, do it to it. That's going to be the way to do it probably. I'm not sure exactly how. I think I moved in by accident. I'm not sure how exactly Quill deals with finding the center of models. I don't know if hooking that up to a group would fix anything. But if you don't have a way to like find the middle of this shape, then you might as well just rotate it anyway because you're going to be spitballing where it is. Yeah, we'll just keep it there. I'm usually way more accurate with these kinds of things just because I'm not on other people's time. But we do need to get through this in an hour, so we're gonna speed run it just a bit. We're gonna take this pink, fuchsia pink.
Tyler, can I ask a question about the gimbal?
Ask away.
I have a general question, but I think it has to do with this as well. I often have problems if I want to reset the gimbal to just be on, to be straight with the. Do you have any tips on that, on how to just reset it exactly the way you want it?
Yeah, that's the time that, especially, we're gonna get into that a lot when we actually start building it. If you're using the selection tool, you're kind of just SOL if you mess it up. Like if I'm trying to place, let's say, this triangle right here, like this guy right here, and I get him rotated in space, but I realize like, oh, this specific corner is too far in. I need to be popped out, but I've already deselected it. I'm just kind of boned because I have to like essentially take the gimbal, and there's no way to rotate the gimbal. There's kind of a way. But again, you're just guessing where each individual line is. For these weird cases, I usually just make like a dummy group and start making gimbals attached to it. Like, oh, if I wanted to bring this guy, I'd make a group and then I'd put a gimbal right here. Or I'd put a gimbal like right here and try my best to like line it up, or here, put it at this tip or whatever. So that way, even when I deselect it, it's still there. It's just in the group. But you also run the problem of like nested gimbaled groups. So if you like wind up moving one deeper in, the one on top's still going to be there, even though this might have swung down. It'll still be here. So it's kind of like trying to figure out in what order you'd want to rotate it in. Yeah, it's a weird little process.
I think I got it.
Yeah, it's usually why like if I try to rotate something and it doesn't work, it usually just results in me scrapping it and moving it in to get like completely new. Yeah, so these you can flip over because it is way easier to get these in line. Because you just take them, move your gimbal so we can make it precise, get it in position, and that's already, I think I'm going to just call it. That's already close enough. So those have just been 3 acute angles, 2 of which are opposite, so you can just reflect it over. Now, obtuse angles are my favorite because you don't have to do... I've had trouble sometimes getting like the perfect triangle to fill that angle. Obtuse are nice because you just make a big square and you just bring it out a ways, and then you can I should probably pick a different color because that blue is not going to show up on the gimbal. Yeah, choosing colors to make sure they're visible is also really important because with that old blue, I could not see my gimbal at all. So we're going to bring him out. This guy might actually be too big. I should have brought the those. Oh, they're technically there. Right. Forgot. Okay, you're in a bad spot, but we can also fix these with the other pieces if they extend far enough. Right. Yeah, this would be flat. I wouldn't have had the problem of forgetting, oh yeah, that actually is longer than it appears to be. I just don't know it because this shape is not flat. So yeah, that's where if you were to make another low poly model, like say you take Lara Croft and all of her beautiful triangles from the early days and tried to recreate her in Quill, you would have to take each individual face on her model and lay it out. Yeah, it's too big. However, though, what's cool is we could just shrink it and it works fine because we are at the axis and that's what matters. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, and then we can flip this all the way around and do the same. We could flip it with the actual like layer gimbal too, but if you rotate it like this with the select tool, it's I think a little bit more accurate because you still keep that center point. With the other one, you have to again try to locate it because it's not going to snap right where your perfect spot is. So then all we have to do is patch this hole in and make sure everything is on the same z-plane. So we just put a square there. Sometimes you get lucky and you don't have to do this part. You just can fill in the hole. So then we're going to take this, bring it up so we can make sure everything's on the same plane. So take our kind of fuchsia color, zoom in further. Look at how wildly inaccurate that was, but that's okay. Okay, close enough. Yeah, see, even at this state, it wasn't really Z-fighting that much you could see, but as soon as you zoom out, it starts to Z-fight because Quill is a magical tool. Same with this. And if there's usually a way you can, or sometimes if you look out, you can get your blue guy to be in between the green and purple, which knows that that's good. And lastly, our yellow. I think we're zoomed out too far still. There we go. That's probably good. That's close enough. Okay, so that's our stout kite done. Okay, what does our time look like? 12:30. Okay, I might actually go ahead and move on to the assembly stage, which, because yeah, this is essentially what this step is. It is using your acute angles and obtuse angles to recreate these. It's the same exact process. This is another instance where your triangle might be stout enough to where you have to do that method, or you could maybe get lucky and get a triangle that works here. Looks like another really close case, but I've gone ahead and let's go ahead and hide what we were working with. Okay, that is the. Okay. I've got some finished pieces already done. Both of these are just including the circle and just the triangle methods. So now we come to the building step. Building step is probably my least favorite because it shows all of your horrible inconsistencies and flaws you've made along the way, and it leads to a lot of problems. And just saying it's good enough. So I built it with this one. Let's do the circle one last time. I've got this thing built already, just to see the differences. But we're gonna go ahead and I always start with the tops because they're easy. They're very easy. So again, if you wanted to be perfect, you would have to have every single plane Z fight. That is damn near impossible. Just because you have to rotate some of these, you can't just place them, and even if you were to place them, you get your angles wrong. So you just have to get as close as you possibly can, and once you take the model away, see how close you are and live with that. Which it's not too bad, even if there are some flaws. Like a lot of my previous gemstones have flaws, but something about motivation and being a flawed diamond or something, I don't know. So what we're looking for here is trying to get, if we can, get the top to be completely gone. But because we have an overhanging part. Overhanging parts actually aren't bad on the top because that just gives you more room to intersect things with. So I might actually bump this guy's size up just a hair. Yeah, I think he's actually just too small. Which you could just lower him deeper because these faces are going to be intersecting this way. We'll bump him inside. Ooh, that was a really good Z fight. Wow. And we'll make it a little bigger just so these sides can intersect well. Okay. We're going to go with the next easiest one, which are ones that obey your like kind of cardinal directions that you start with. So we need our chubby rhombus. I'm going to go ahead and separate this guy into a new. Cool. So we need chubby rhombus. Nope, not a sequence layer. Close. Chubby. He's a kite. Is he a rhombus? I don't know. Somebody smarter than me know if this is a rhombus? Me neither. We're actually going to go with the top because if we go with the bottom, then we won't be able to see what we're doing and how it intersects with the top. So we're going to lower him down. Try to get him as close as we can. And this is where having it overhang a little bit actually kind of helps because the top of your gem is going to be kind of like your face, your hero. So as long as it's on top, it's kind of fine. But here you're already running into one of those Z fighting problems where my tip is inside, but the bottom is not. So at some point we're going to be hitting like this amalgamation where it's half in, half out, which you think is good, but it's also not good because it just shows that it's not perfectly placed. Okay, come on. Yeah, so that little bit intersecting is fine. That's a good amount. We just need to get him. Ooh, that might not be bad. Let's check the bottom. The bottom will show us how bad we are, which is horrible because there's a lot of gap here. The closest we can get here is better because we need this rim to intersect this a little bit. Because we are not like Blender. We cannot just say, yes, I'd like to fill in the gaps. Please match my vertices. And ooh, that is really good. So even though whatever is happening with this model, I think what's happening is this line is actually pushed out a little bit because it's a quad with this intersecting tri. It makes the mesh go underneath it, but because it's so close and it's nearly Z fighting there, I think that's fine. I might make it a little bigger just so it goes down, but we can. If you're having problems getting your top part to reach here, like if and this goes with any model, if you've got a single band that goes around like this or something, there can be tons of gap between your top and bottom parts and this part because this part can move and scale and change and stuff with like no effect. So we have that in place now. Now the not fun parts. Which triangle do we want to do? Because they both suck. Let's do the top one. Top try. And this is where I might consider actually using a dummy grab or dummy group. One to put kind of on the side, just in case. and one to put up here, or the actual group itself. So that way, because he has to have weird rotations, we won't lose them too far. So we're going to go ahead and get you in position. Again, he's still a little off rotation, but that's okay. Okay, how close is that? A little bit to the left. Okay, then we're going to rotate him and see what happens. So it looks like he's a little off face up here. We're going to try to zoom in and look at it with one eye. Yeah, he's a little off face, so we will bring him in and bring him out. Okay, how is that? Okay, he's really overlapping, which isn't always the worst, but we're going to see if we can push for. Oh, that's good. That's a good sign. Okay, when you see this, this is nice because that means you actually have a plane intersection. That's real nice. I'm going to see if I can actually push him out a little bit to make that intersection a little less wide. There we go. Okay, how are you down here still? Doing okay? Okay, I'm going to do the thing where I take my grab gimbal really far out. This is so tricky. I might just call that there. Yeah, we'll just do that.
And so you don't use the grab tool just because you want to be more exact?
There will probably be one point I wind up using the grab tool, and I usually use the grab tool on these longer pieces. I don't know why, but they tend to... I guess I could do that one next, sure. I don't know, like, I think when I was testing this last night, it was this triangle here. It was, for some reason, like, weirdly angled. It might have been with how I set it up, because since these bands here and this have the same, like, kind of miter right there, I just put them in the same group and then rotated this one down. If something's too far off, like yeah, if this I really just wanted this to be up, yeah, you could grab tool that, no problem. Like, you just grab it, take your tool, make it really big because you don't want it to angle too bad, and then you just delicately tweak it, and like, yeah, that's way closer now. But you've bent it somewhere along the way, which, it depends on how much give and take you want. It's not outlawed. I've used it before because it's really good. I'll even keep it there just so we can see what it does later, because it makes Gemstones really good compared to building a model like Lara Croft, which I don't know if you could ever build a character like this. You could build a character, but you really can't animate it, because I'll just show you. If I start trying to grab tool warp this right now, it doesn't like it. It gets mad because you've got so much geometry that's in different, like, directions of how it wants to bend. If you're able to somehow, like, I don't know, transform key it, that's great, cool. Please show me, because I thought it impossible. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do this one really quick because it was a topic of conversation. Now, see, this is hindsight's 2020. If I was smart, I would have made this top piece my flat, so it would match up with this, but I didn't. So what we have to do is we have to take it and hook it up with this. Is that where the... Yeah, okay. This will go on the left one. So we'll try to zoom in close as we can to get it perfect. Pull him here, pull him out, pull him up. The grab tool question is a good question. I had to do that last night with this exact piece. Okay, is that Z fighting or is that a gap? Looks like a gap. Gaps are bad. Okay, we're just gonna bring it out. Something I noticed too whenever I like grab it really close in, like, oh, there is a weird thing where your gimbal usually has its arrow like right here, and if you're like, oh, I need to grab right here because if I pull it out, it'll be in line, but my arrow's in the way. If you grab and just rotate it a little bit and then undo it, the gimbal doesn't undo. So you can grab it perfectly dead on and like bring it out straight, which sometimes I notice if I have my controllers together and I'm trying to move these, it gets distracted by the others like infrared lights on it. So if I just like hide it off to the side and completely mess everything up, so I have to reselect everything. Which, yeah, if you hit the grab tool while you're trying to move anything, say goodbye to your gimbal. You have to do it all over again, which is a huge pain, but we love Quill. So go back in, get it set up. Yeah, imagine trying to do that on like one of those really complicated place triangles, and then you move your controller for a second and it nudges the grab, and then all of a sudden your gimbal's wrong and you're like, oh, which that's a good thing with setting up your transform group gimbal. When you undo it, it will undo with your actual shape. Let's just put this. Oh god, this one's hard. Yeah, it's not uncommon for me to, no joke, like I'm gonna get out of my chair right now, push this over here and then bring it like across the room. And it's still wrong. Whatever. We're just gonna nudge it and call it a day. Just kidding. I'm gonna break it again. We're gonna undo. There we go. Look, I did it perfect. First try. Okay. Okay, so now he's good. We are going to separate these into their own group. Nope, no, we're not gonna import an image. Sorry, Quill. Separate them into their own group. Bring them over here. Pull you out. We're gonna call you long. We're gonna call you side. So what we're also doing right now is, this is why gemstones are really good, is because this is an octagon, meaning there's 8 perfect sides. Likewise, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. So that means we don't have to place each individual face. We just have to place one perfect rotatable segment by 8. And we let the rotation step do the work for us, which can cause some grief later on, because if you make a mistake, it gets amplified and it's awful. So what we're going to do is, normally what you'd be able to do is, since this is 8 steps, you go, oh, well, this is 16, right? Because it's divided per thing. Yes. But in order to get the perfect snapping, you have to do 32, because, again, you're starting flat. If you were starting at, like, I don't know, one of the... yeah. Problem is, Quill doesn't go to 32 snaps. It only goes 30, so there's probably a math equation in there where you could go, oh, half of it might be... No, yeah, I don't know. You have to do 360 divided by 32, and then figure out the difference and see if you can math out by like rotating forward, back, forward, back. I'm not going to do that because that's silly. I used to try to do that, and then I realized that was futile, so I stopped trying to do that. We're going to go with the long one and get him as close as we can to the edge, because that's where we want him to rotate. Perfect. Okay, cool. And make sure this one is close, because that's what we're going to need. Yeah, always, if you're ever doing this, double check where your gimbal positions are at by zooming in really far, because like right now that looks pretty close, but if I zoom in, it's off. Because it's like you're trying to work on like an ant's computer as a giant, and it just you can't do it. Zooming in is helpful. So we're gonna go put this guy in his position and hope everything goes okay. Yeah, this is where most of like the guessing, we're just here to cook it enough, good enough kind of mentality comes from, because yeah, it's ridiculously hard to get this to be 100% perfect. Like that is very close to being intersecting, but not. Ooh, yeah, I like that. Yeah, it could go further. Yeah, see, zooming in, it's like, oh wow, I can do more now. Where'd the gimbal go? Also makes you lose your gimbal. There it is. Zoom out a bit. Ooh, it's vibrating. That's good. Good for us. Good for us. Okay. Ooh, now the hard part that's not any fun. Getting this to be good. Is that good? Did I get lucky? Nope. Yeah, this gave me probably the most trouble last night, just getting this to be... I think that's close, despite the fact that it's inside. I think that's very close. Yeah, you have to be this far zoomed in, which... That's how long I had to go across there, and at max size, like that's how long that gap is. That's fine. I'm satisfied with that. Now we swing this guy down. So he's going to be inside. Now this is where the grab tool might come in handy. The point's supposed to meet here. The point is over here. That is where grab tool can save the day. So we're going to try to... Can we get this like the one we had where just the tip is visible? Because that would be swell. I'm going to angle it so I can see what I'm doing. It's going to be rude, isn't it? Ooh, that's close though. That's very close. Okay, so we're going to just select him, grab tool, and oop. I'm doing very delicate touches with it. I'm not even holding it. How bad I screw you up? Pretty bad. And the more you grab to it, the more you're going to mess things up. So I'm going to actually undo everything I just did, because I did not do it right. Let's go bigger. That might not be... Oh, I keep messing up that side, though. Again, we're getting better. Getting better every time. Let's go on the inside. Yeah, that's an unknown thing. You can go on the inside and work on it. And see all the cool shapes in Z fighting from the other side. Okay, I think, yeah, we've spent enough time on him. He's okay. He'll live. What's our time at? Okay, 10 minutes to finish it up. So yeah, you see me kind of place that guy with the double gimbals. This one, you could luckily, you have to add a new group to do it, but you could Uno Reverso him and then just drag him into position. But essentially, once you've gotten your... I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, because I think hopefully people get the gist of how that works. Let's go ahead and lock these. Rotatable piece. So yeah, this is about what you get whenever you've got each piece in position. So I've already figured out, okay, when I need to rotate it, whenever this guy rotates by 8 steps, he'll go here. There's 8 of these triangles, so you only need to do one side of them. There's, I think, 16 of these because they get split in the middle. So we need to do 2 of them, 2 of these, 2 of these. And once again, 8 of these long ones. So to get your perfect middle point, you take your top piece, you're going to put it in a group, going to activate your gimbal in your group and reset pivot so it becomes the middle. You then remove the top and take your rotatable piece and you put it in your group. And then make sure you have 8 rotation steps. And you just break everything. Cool. Love that. Why'd it break? This was supposed to be cool. Why did you break? Hang on. Oh, are you in the wrong spot? No, you can't be. Hang on. Okay, reset pivot. Did I do it wrong? Oh, no, okay, now it worked. Oh, it's because I used the rotatable piece thing. Yeah, sorry. Okay, big moment. Boop, 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 boop. First try. Check that out. Now, if we go back up and we hide our model, we got ourselves a gem. Now, you can already see this as like a little bit of a problem. Another problem there. Some holes like that aren't the end of the world. If you really don't like them, there's a way to fix it. Kind of. It's very touchy on whether it gets fixed or not. So we're going to undo all that. If you take your rotatable piece itself and you push it in just a little bit. So now we've gone from there to there. And we'll try giving it a rotate. What that does is it causes more intersections, a little more uglier intersections, but it will cause everything to be touching. I might have overdone it a little bit, so we're going to, once again, undo everything. Actually going to zoom in for this one so I can gauge it. Oop, gimbal's too far down, though. Going to scoot it there, and we try one last time. Flick on this. That's good enough. Now, again, with this, there's a little gap here. I don't think it's going to bother too much. If anything, if somebody can see this, it's going to look like color refraction, just a little bit or something. But I think this is good enough, close enough. I'm satisfied with it. So now comes probably my second least favorite part is dividing each face into a colorable area, which trying to designate that is a huge pain. So we're going to start with the top first. Oh, I already have things labeled top. We're going to call this whole because that's the whole thing right now. Top. Oh, not TPO. We're going to do these triangles next. Did I get lucky and make it in one shape? No, I didn't. Okay. I thought I got lucky and I was able to turn that one triangle into a single triangle and not have the acute angle mess, which it's also better if you can make it one shape because they recolor better. If you've got these multiple triangle things together, it's better if you can have each face as one color. You can do gradients. It's better if they're over bigger pieces in a longer way. But if it's like a triangle like this, it's hard to get it to look right without a bunch of Z fighting gobbledygook. We'll call these small tries. Oh, not literal tries. These are our kites. This one's not too bad because it's kind of got a radial pattern to it, so we can just select each piece. If you wanted to really make it more user friendly, because this isn't even just for like, oh, let's designate this, because I'm sure there's ways you could tell like a color will reflect a certain way on certain faces, but it's more for how easily you want to be able to color it. Like if you select every other one and put every other one on a layer, it's going to give you a bigger buffer between faces. So like for right now, if I tried to recolor these that I'm on, but I only want one face to have like a white, So I got this white. I have to like really watch the corner. And like even still, I got white on it. And you probably was like, just deselect it. Yeah, but that's more work. If I only had every other one selected, I could just do it. And it'd be great. Low tries. It's the same way with the rim. Like I usually select every other one on the rim and put them in their own groups, but we're gonna, for time's sake, just. Okay, did I get them all? No, I'm missing a couple. Oh, I'm missing 3. Rim. And then we'll do. Oh yeah, this is where it gets tricky because do you keep all the red triangles in one group? Do you keep all the triangles in one group? We're gonna go with the red triangles. What's good about the way you can build these two is they're very, very optimizable. Let's do R tries. Like right now, I think this beast is at 64.1K. If I go ahead and just a real quick show what I mean. This is 4K polys now. It was 64. And it's going to be a little more once you color it. I would definitely recommend coloring it first because that way it keeps your colors. Yeah. Because colors are important. You want to don't let the optimization kill you too much because it's already going to be hard enough to color these guys. You don't want to have optimized individual faces and then try to do it because it's going to be a literal nightmare. Okay, and then the last we just have, oh my, weird shape. And that one I probably would do every other one, which I think I might actually still do. Call it bot 1 and bot 2. Okay, so then I'm gonna hide the intro because it's been there the whole time. We're gonna look at the colorizing step. Let's pick a gem we like. What do we want? Do we want? Haven't done citrine yet, but peridot is pretty cool. Let's do peridot. Go ahead and just take a green from there. Go to the top. Go ahead and do these small tries. Just steal a bit of a darker green. Kites. Just this one. I like to steal colors first and get them in spot and then come back later and get it good. Let's make it a darker green. It's like a chaos emerald. Cool. I think that's what those actually are. They're classic round cuts. Okay, then we're gonna need something darker for the bottom. We're gonna steal this, and bot 1 we'll just make it this normal green, and we'll add some darker. Bot 2 we can split that difference too. Okay, so we've already got this started. We're gonna go ahead and darken the rim. We'll just make it this color and then darken it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this. We're gonna do that. Make it one face. And we'll brighten up these two as well. Cool. Oh, nope, don't color that. Did I grabbed the circle in the middle, right? No, this is the hexagon or the octagonal triangle. So yeah, when you try to gradient, you get things like that. If you try to gradient one of these, let me go ahead and turn the fall off down. You get that abomination. Sometimes you can do it a little better depending on what you're given. Like, yeah, no, these don't want to be gradiented. So one colors work best. Probably what's going to get you the most luck. Let's steal some of this green too. A little bit of white. I don't like these dark greens. Let's brighten them up. Kind of looks like a golf course. On a golf course on your gym. Cool. Okay, I want. That's like 2 yellow. I know that was a yellow, but I want to keep it kind of a green. And then on the other side, you can do the opposite, make it dark. To give it some like shadow and refracted light. Yeah, that's my biggest sadness is like if you actually turn these things like lightly transparent, it looks really cool. But they just don't work in Quill Theater. They would probably cause the quests to overheat and melt. Like, let me go ahead and turn this to like 50% opacity. Yeah, like that's really cool looking. But it don't work. It's sad. So we gotta just hand color it. Let's put a little brighter in. I'm gonna make every part on this side dark. How does that put us at time? I'm technically 3 minutes over. That'll do it though. I mean, yeah, color is, you've got your cool little peridot gemstone, but show the others and we'll just stick it in. Yeah, there you go. That's how you can make yourself some fancy, cool gems. Taking some relatively low poly models from Blender and sticking them into Quill and just UV unwrapping and replacing them. Sure, we'll just do that. Why not? Let's give it a little bit of glare. Who cares? Ta-da! Shiny. Then we can give it a little glint. Because who doesn't like shiny? Do you know that these little shine glints, they will always have the same, like all the lines in them will be, what is it? I think parallel to each other, no matter what. Like, so you're not going to have this and then have one that's like this. It's going to be the same way. I think it's also like this. But they're all green. That's okay. Yeah, there you go. Gemstones are good.
Yeah, it looks great.
Cool.
That looks amazing, Tyler.
Oh, thank you.
Love it.
Do we have any questions that were in the chat here that I missed? Get rid of some part to make it look a little transparent. Yeah, you could probably play it right. Like if you did, I think what Dan Frank did with his little Spider-Verse thing with the eyes. Like I'm sure if you popped open the top and you gave like a little inverse thing, it'd probably work. I've got to build with that, but that actually, that actually looks kind of cool. You know what? And that's the cherry on top. Take the top off your gym. You don't need it. But yeah, some of them, like this is the table cut. It can be gradient better because again, it is a little simpler. But like sunflower, don't do it as much. I tried it. It kind of worked. Yeah. Yeah. Anything
Nice,
else?
yeah. Looks exhausted, but looks beautiful.
Yeah, no, it. Yeah, these took me quite a while. That's why I like to usually keep these ones that are built out too. Yeah, I don't know. Next up, I guess, is more diamonds. I think. Hang on, I want to show one of the ones I started to work on. And I stopped because it was insane. I think it's, yeah. Where's the intro? Oh, hide the finished ones. Where is it? Trillion. Yeah, this thing is stupid because I was like, okay, well, what if I tried something that wasn't like radial? And it's really hard because getting all of the faces completely flat, it's not easy. But I'm not giving up yet. One of these days. One of these days will be great. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now. So thank you for tuning in. For everybody who came live, be sure to stop by every Saturday. We got more of these coming. See ya.